I'd like to thank Angela Davis for the wonderful reading. She always does a fabulous job. And I also would like to thank Gary Lynn Floyd, Karen Drucker, and our own music team for the fabulous music that supports the message today. And today we pause from our series to celebrate Mother's Day and also a time 10 years ago when I moved to Baton Rouge so that we could start having regular services in person every Sunday. Wow, how time flies. And I want to personally thank everyone who has supported the community through the years, everyone who has mothered this community and shown the unconditional love that it takes to make it what it is today. And before I turn you over to Reverend Catherine, here's a question for the week. What is the one choice you might make today to be aware of a mother's love and to embrace all the love that your mother or your chosen mother bestowed upon you? One more time. What is the one choice you might make today to be aware of a mother's love and to embrace all the love that your mother or a chosen mother bestowed upon you? And now, enjoy Reverend Catherine's marvelous message.
Good morning, my friends. Reverend Catherine Bonin here on this beautiful Mother's Day morning. What a joy it is to be able to spend some time with you this morning across the miles. So happy Mother's Day to all of you who are mothers and to all of you who have a mother. Early one morning, a woman went into her son's room to wake him up. "Dad, it's time to get up, time to go to school." He opened one eye and said, "But why, Mom? I don't want to go." And the mom said, "Give me 2 reasons why you shouldn't go to school today." And the son said, "Well, the kids hate me and the teachers hate me too." And the mom said, "Now that's no reason to not go to school. Come on now, get up and get ready." And the son said, "Mom, give me 2 reasons why I should go and I'll get up." And the mom said, "Well, for one, you're 52 years old. And 2, you're the principal." I feel blessed because my mother, who is 84, is still vibrant and full of life, and I still get to spend time with her. In preparing for this talk, I thought about a mother's hands, and I pulled up this picture from my ministerial ordination. Looking at my mother's hands, I thought about how they held me when I was afraid, how they made food for me, and how I could taste the love in the food, how they held my hand when I crossed the street or when I was in a crowd, how they patted me on the back, kind of like this, when I accomplished something, how they wiped my tears, how they rubbed my back, my feet, shoulder, whatever it was that happened to hurt. My mother, and I'll bet yours, was there for me when I had my own children, when I suffered a loss, or when I just needed to talk. Mothers across the globe share something deep and beautiful, something profound. It's universal. It's a kind of love that's very difficult to explain. It's the deepest kind of love I think many of us have ever experienced. And that's because we're all connected. We're all connected to our mothers, and our mothers are deeply connected to us. We share DNA. Being a mother is hard. It's a challenging responsibility, and it's a role that's definitely underappreciated. Mothers are tireless, persistent, and patient, and it takes real commitment to be a mom. As a minister, I often visit hospitals, and I've noticed something interesting about mothers and fathers who are visiting their children in the hospital. Fathers typically pace back and forth and often walk in and out of the room, while mothers, they're patient. They sit next to their child's bed. They'll often hold the hand of the child or touch their leg or their arm. They sit quietly and just hold space. Mothers wear many, many different hats. They're cooks and taxi drivers and cheerleaders and judges and doctors and teachers and counselors and so many more roles they play. Mothers get up early to get a jump start in the day. My own mother, with 5 kids, used to get up at 4:30 in the morning to make my father breakfast, to prepare his lunch and our school lunches, and to get started on the housework. There were many, many mornings I remember coming down the stairs and seeing her on her hands and knees scrubbing the kitchen floor. Mothers work hard. It's just part of the job description. My mother recently told me that she had to get fingerprinted to bring a puppet show that she had curated to some elementary schools, and that they had had a hard time getting her fingerprints. Over the years, she had literally worked her fingers to the bone. She had used so many abrasive cleaners and gotten hot glue and super glue stuck on her fingers for all of those school projects, so much so that her fingerprints were almost completely non-existent. She ended up having to go to an FBI office so they could use a special machine to get her the clearance she needed to go visit schools. There was a young boy who got his first job, and he was boasting about how hard it was and how much work he had to do to one of his friends. "I have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to have breakfast," he said. And his friend said, "Does anybody get up with you?" And he said, "Sure, my mother gets up and she makes my breakfast, and then she fixes my dad's breakfast." "And what about your lunch and dinner?" the friend asked. "Oh, mother fixes those too," the boy said. "Does your mother have the rest of the day to herself?" the friend asked. "Oh, no, she has to clean the house and look after my brothers and sisters, and then she has to make supper for me and my dad when we come home, and then she cleans up when we watch TV afterwards." "What else does she do?" friend asked. "Well, Mama washes the dishes, she does the laundry, she irons and folds clothes until it's time to go to bed." "And do you get paid?" the friend asked. "Of course I get paid. Dad gets paid too," the boy said. "And your mother, does she get paid?" And the boy said, "Mother get paid? Mother doesn't get paid. She doesn't do any work." Well, we all know better than that, right? In fact, over the years, there have been a number of organizations that have tried to attach a dollar amount to what a stay-at-home mom might make. According to an article in salary.com, in 2018, that was 6 years ago, an appropriate salary for what a mother does in the job market would have been $162,000. That was 6 years ago. Now, because of inflation, of course, and all the things that have happened in the last 6 years, a more recent study in Fortune magazine says that mothers should be paid more, a lot more. In fact, it says the article says that the average mother works 119 hours a week, and with a competitive wage of $42 an hour, would mean that that mother would earn a salary of $260,000 a year. And here's the thing, while most mothers come to motherhood by giving birth, that's not always the case. A mother's love isn't confined to children that she gives birth to. Oprah Winfrey said, "Biology is the least of what makes someone a mother. It's a mother's heart that makes them a mother." Today is a day we celebrate a mother's love in whatever form it takes. If your mother's still around, be sure and connect with her today. Let her know how much she means to you. And if not, find a way to honor that maternal spirit in the other people in your life and those people out in the world. A little boy came up to his mother in the kitchen one evening while she was fixing supper, and he handed her a piece of paper that he had been writing on. His mother dried her hands on the apron, and then she read it. And this is what it said. "My bill. For cutting the grass, $5. For cleaning up my room, $1. For going to the store for you on Tuesday, 50 cents. For babysitting my kid brother while you went shopping on Friday, 25 cents. For taking out the garbage, $1. For getting a good report card, $5. For cleaning up and raking the yard, $2. Total due, $14.75. Well, his mother looked at him with a smile on her face. The boy could see there were memories flashing in front of her eyes. She picked up the pen, turned the paper over, and this is what she wrote on the back side. For the 9 months I carried you while you were growing inside me, no charge. For all the nights I sat up with you, doctored and prayed for you, no charge. For all the trying times and all the tears you caused through all the years, no charge. For all the nights that were filled with dread, for all the worries I knew were ahead, no charge. For all the toys, the food, the clothes, and even for wiping your nose, no charge. When you add it up, the cost of my love, my son, is no charge. When the boy finished reading what his mother had written, there were tears welling up in his eyes. And he looked right at his mother and said, Mom, I sure do love you. And then he took the pen and in great big letters, on his side of the bill, he wrote, paid in full. Not only do mothers work hard, but they teach us so much. Our mothers teach us to appreciate a job well done. If you're going to kill each other, do it outside. I just finished cleaning in here. They teach us logic. If you fall off that swing and break your neck, you won't be going to the park with us this afternoon. They teach us foresight. Make sure you wear clean underwear in case you're in an accident. They teach us stamina. You'll sit there until all that spinach is gone. They teach us about the weather. Young lady, this room of yours looks like a tornado went through it. They teach us about the circle of life. I brought you into this world and I can take you out. They teach us about anticipation. Just wait until your father gets home. They teach us how to become an adult. If you don't eat your vegetables, you'll never grow up. They teach us about our roots. Close that door. You weren't born in a barn. They teach us humor. You're barefoot? When that lawnmower cuts off your toes, don't you come running to me. They teach us about prayer. You'd better pray that comes out of the carpet. They teach us about wisdom. When you get to be my age, you'll understand. And they teach us about justice. One day, you'll have kids of your own, and I hope they turn out just like you. One year for Mother's Day, my daughter gave me a sign that says, home is where your mom is. That sign still hangs in my bathroom, so I see it every day. Think about that. Home is where your mom is. How true is that for you? What means home to you? For some people, home is a house because they were born and raised in the same place. But for me, having been raised an army brat, moving around every couple of years, I learned very quickly that home isn't so much a place as it's the place where your loved ones are. And more specifically, the place where your mom is. And most of us can say that we are who we are because of our mothers. Abraham Lincoln led this country through a great crisis. But who made Abe Lincoln the man that he was? Lincoln credits his mother. All that I am or ever hope to be, he said, I owe to my mother. She was an angel. And Napoleon Bonaparte said, let France have good mothers and she will have good sons. The highest tribute we can give to our mothers is not to praise her, not to bring her flowers or give her a gift, not to pay her a visit, and not to go to church with her. The greatest tribute we can give to our mother is to be the kind of person that she wanted us to be. I think part of being that person includes seeing that within each of us, there is a balance between masculine and feminine energy, the yin and the yang. And it's that feminine nature that we associate with mothering. On page 82 of the Science of Mind textbook, Ernest Holmes, the founder of religious science, says, Spirit is Father, Mother, God, because it is the principle of unity. The masculine and feminine both come from the one spirit that is life, truth, love, being, cause, and effect. It is the only power in the universe that knows itself. Spirit could know nothing outside of itself, because that would be God and something else. There is no something else. Spirit is all, center and the circumference of everything, both manifest and unmanifest. Spirit is all. Spirit is masculine, spirit is feminine, and spirit is everything in between. And while many might see God as a father image, strong and patriarchal, let us remember that there also is that feminine face of God. The easiest place to see it in our culture is in nature. Many of us who have trouble with the word God call God nature, and many of us find it easy to find and feel and sense and know God when we're out in nature. And what do we call nature? Why, we call it Mother Nature. When we look at the master teacher Jesus, the male side was God's character, and it was expressed by his strong declarations of truth and pronouncements on the rules of life and morality. The female side of God was clear in his gentle sense of wonder while enjoying what one might call the simpler things in life. If I could have been around in Jesus's time, I would have really appreciated seeing him perform miracles and defy those self-righteous religionists. But even more than that, I think I would have liked following him as he took those private walks, as he felt that deep connection outside in nature. I would have loved peeking at him from behind some boulder on a hillside near the Sea of Galilee and watching him be charmed by all the sights and sounds that surrounded him. I would have liked watching the way Jesus looked at the people he met and seeing how he delighted himself with the simple things of life, food, and even the taste of water. I would have loved to have eavesdropped on some of those one-on-one conversations he had with others. My sense is that he was loving and compassionate. All of those traits we associate with that feminine energy. The masculine side of God is certainly something to be admired. It's the feminine side that draws the love out of us. Rumi said, "We are born of love. Love is our mother." And while the Christian church has been instrumental in creating that patriarchal image of God, the idea of an old man up in the sky, there are some references of a different kind of God in the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Bible. Long before the Christian church began to formulate its male image of the triune nature of God, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, the Hebrew people used many different words to refer to God. The earliest of these words is El, which is the generic Semitic word for a God. Modern Bible translations use the word Elas, as it translates to God, and then the Hebrew word Elohimus, which is a combination of the generic term for a God, El, and the plural feminine form of the word for majesty, Ohimus. The English translation of Elohimus is the word Lord, which fails to capture the masculine and feminine nature that the Hebrew word does. Here's another interesting one, Rechem. In Hebrew, Rechem means womb. And it's the root of the Hebrew words for mercy and merciful. Whenever the word rechem is used to describe God's love, it is translated into English as compassionate love. And some translators have suggested that a more accurate translation would be womb-like or motherly love. And although the overwhelming image of God in the Hebrew scriptures is male, if you take a close look at even the modern day translations of the Old Testament, you can still find fleeting images of God as a woman. In Isaiah 42:14, God is likened to a woman in labor, that creative process. In Numbers 11, and then again in Isaiah 49, God is likened to a nursing mother, providing for her child. In Isaiah 66, God is referred to as a comforting mother. In Hosea 13-8, God is portrayed as a fierce mother bear. In the Hebrew scriptures, we also find the Holy Spirit is referred to more than 400 times using the Hebrew word rauch, which is a feminine noun for breath, wind, or spirit. It's feminine in nature. The power of the Spirit, she, was made masculine for the first time when the Bible was translated into Latin. Isn't that interesting? We also see the feminine face of God in Hinduism. A few years ago, Deepak Chopra wrote a Mother's Day letter to the world in which he talked about Shakti, the divine mother. He said it was an essential, nurturing, life-giving energy. That Shakti represents the power of beauty, the power of intuition, the power of creativity, the power of compassion, and the power of love that lives in every one of us. Etymologically, he says, the word Shakti is related to the word Shekinah, another Hebrew word which means the feminine face of God. He talked about love and forgiveness and wisdom as feminine qualities, but says that we have to cultivate the others as well. Qualities like understanding, patience, compassion, peace, creativity, wisdom, all the qualities of the divine mother within us. Chopra says that we cultivate understanding by recognizing the unity in diversity and by seeking to accept others as aspects of the divine in disguise, and with that, to see our oneness with everyone else. He says we cultivate patience when we choose not to force an answer or a solution, but rather accept uncertainty, knowing and allowing that the answers will emerge from the confusion, chaos. He says we cultivate compassion when instead of ignoring or suppressing our emotions, we pay attention to the emotions and the signals our body gives us. Tell us when someone is ready to listen and when we should act, allowing love and compassion to guide us. He says we cultivate peace when we allow ourselves and those around us the freedom to be who we are and who they are, remembering that we never need to force a situation, that accepting each moment as it is and knowing that the whole universe is as it should be brings peace. He says we cultivate creativity as solutions where none were seen before, when we remember that we each have the ability to fulfill our dreams because our essential nature is pure potentiality. He says that Shakti force within us is wise. It sees a cosmic perspective that always, always comes from that source of love within us. And that when we live from this place, we ask, how can I help? How can I be of service? This is that feminine nature that is within each of us. In closing, I'd like to tell you a story about a video that I saw when I went to the Holocaust Museum in Israel. It's the story of Solomon Rosenberg and his family. Solomon Rosenberg, his wife and their two sons, his mother and his father were arrested and they were sent to Auschwitz, a Nazi concentration camp in occupied Poland, simply because they were Jewish. After a short time, his mother and father were no longer able to work, and so they were sent to their death. There was very little food, and the conditions there were terrible. More and more people fell ill and disappeared. Everyone knew, though, what had happened to them. Solomon's wife and oldest son were strong, and they worked hard, but he was very worried about his youngest son, David, because David had always been a frail child. He was having a hard time keeping up with the workload, and the guards were starting to notice. David told his parents how hard it was and how the guards pushed him over and over and over again. Every night, Solomon Rosenberg would come back to the barracks after his 16 hours of labor, and he would search for the faces of his family. When he found them, they would huddle together. They would embrace each other and thank God for another day of life. Well, one day, Rosenberg came back, and he didn't see those familiar faces. He finally found his oldest son, Joshua, in a corner, huddled, weeping, and praying. Solomon Rosenberg said, "Josh, tell me it's not true." And Josh turned around and said, "It is true, Papa. Today, David was not strong enough to do his work, so they came for him." "But where is your mother?" asked Rosenberg. "Oh, Papa," Joshua said, "when they came for David, he was afraid and he cried. Mama said, 'David, there's nothing to be afraid of.' She took David's hand and she went with him." That's a mother's love. And so let's pray. Father, Mother, God, today we celebrate that unity that is in diversity. We celebrate the masculine nature of God, and we celebrate the feminine face of God. That love that is nurturing, that is compassionate, that is wise, that is strong. We celebrate that love that is within each of us, that we learned from our mothers, that they learned from their mothers, or from those that mothered us. Because as Oprah says, biology isn't what makes a mother a mother. We celebrate those people who have been mothers to us. And we celebrate that connection that we have, that powerful, deep, bonding connection. Today we celebrate that Shakti, that feminine face of God. We feel it and we know it as we walk out in nature. We feel it and we know it as we hug others, as we share time today with those that we love. We feel it and we know it as we look around at the world and see love looking back at us. How grateful I am to be able to know that feminine face of God, to be able to know love in this way. How grateful I am for a community such as this one, the Center for Spiritual Living Southeastern Louisiana, where we share that connection, where we can mother each other. How grateful I am for these principles of truth, to feel grounded and strong and able to move forward in life, knowing these truths about life, about my life, and about the life of each person here. And so it's with that full, grateful heart that we walk into this day celebrating mothers everywhere, in everyone. And it's with that I release my word, calling it good, because I know it is. And so it is.
Doesn't Reverend Catherine seem to keep outdoing herself? Every message that she does for us seems to be so much better than the one before it. And so many beautiful stories and quotes today. And since she ended with such a beautiful prayer, let me just take this time to remind you of your affirmation for the week. How is it I so willingly and effortlessly am aware of a mother's love and easily embrace all the love that my mother figure bestowed upon me? And your challenge this week? Do one thing each day to show somebody unconditional love. It can be as simple as a phone call to someone to tell them that you love them, or even a smile for a stranger. And if you feel like you have been inspired today, please consider making a donation. I am so very grateful to all of the donations that continue to come in and allow us to spread this message and have special ministers like today, special music, and some special events. Thank you so much. Enjoy our offertory song.